I understand completely. Yeah, I don't know if I could watch a lecture for 3 hours. But it's funny today when I was talking to a dean at the other college, I said, the nice thing is about watching the recording. If there's a section you don't want to hear, like the chit chat, you can skip it. If there's a section where you're like, oh, I really wish we could learn that. Oh, fast forward to that and no one knows. All right, so welcome this week. And Julia, I just hit record, so you should have got the invite. And I am still learning the fact that you are not on my computer screen. So it's very weird that I have to look at the owl. So Devin, you weren't here last week. This is called the owl. The owl follows us around. Are you familiar with Flex at all?
No, I did last, as my second semester.
Okay, cool. What I like about it is it follows us around. What I dislike is whoever's talking kind of hones in, and when you stop talking, it will focus on you until someone else talks. So just be cognizant of that. This is being recorded, so if you have to skip out at any point in time, feel free. You can always come back to it. Expectation for tonight. I want to get through all of chapter 1. Now, I'm still going to hold a breakout with the online folks and with us in class. Now, Miguel, if you're able to join, great. If not, same for you, Julia, because you have the other modalities. We are going to take probably about 10 to 15 minutes per case. There's 3 different cases, and really identify what was wrong. How do we solve these complex problems that actually exist in today's world? At the MBA level, you will be enticed and challenged in your careers and expected to solve problems. I guarantee you 100%. Once you put the credentials behind you, and you have the 3 letters, MBA, MSM, anything with a master's, your employers do expect more out of you. A lot of employers want you to solve problems at a very high level. They want you to understand what is wrong and what are you going to do to fix it. And you're not just going past the buck. You can't, right? With an MBA or any type of graduate degree, hopefully you're earning a lot more for this. So that's why employers want this. This chapter to me is really fun. If you like psychology, this is a fun chapter. It's fun because you get to question everything. If there's a problem, always the statement is why. If you can figure out that, you'll do really well. This will be test questions as well. You always want to go the extra level. Why? So, example, Spirit Airlines filed for bankruptcy. Why? Why do they file? People are going to say mismanagement, stocks, carrier costs, small, luggage claims, everything else. The next question will be for that. Why? Why were their fees so high? Who set these fees in place? There has to be accountability. If you're hired on as a consultant to fix Spirit Airlines, this is very relevant. How do you fix it? You have to get very granular. You are no longer looking at a very low, minuscule level. You want to solve these problems, hence the why. So if I were to evaluate Spirit Airlines, I want to know who's responsible for the fees. I want to know why the airline got into the predicament it is in. I also want to know why it went on for so long. You do not hit bankruptcy overnight. Bankruptcy occurs over a very long period of time. Why did we not fix that? And that's kind of the emphasis tonight. We're going to break down several different companies. We're going to challenge it. We're going to see your opinions of it. It's not right, it's not wrong. Everyone has a different opinion. But you are going to be graduates in the near future and expected to solve these real world problems, which I have to admit is the greatest thing about getting your grad degrees, right? Because people will come to you from this point forward. A lot of you will say the same thing. Oh, wait a second, I'm getting my grad degree, and how are they going to know? Because they're going to be proud of what you've accomplished, and they're going to come to you because you're going to offer feedback like you never have before. If you start thinking of why, and you're at a business meeting, and your boss is coming to you saying, well, we got to do this different. You're going to say, why though? Have you thought about it this way? How do we solve these problems? And also, that's how you get promoted. That's the importance of this degree, which to me is really, really cool. So I'm going to pull up my screen and share, and hopefully it works out right without showing my email for the course. I'm going to stop sharing because it keeps popping up here, so let me get back in real quick. This is a fun thing about doing the online live version right now.
That's why I'm packing my workstation as multiple screens.
Yes, yeah, I have two at home as well, plus my laptop. Yeah, I went back last week and looked at some of the videos. I was like, I gotta close it. Cause it is interesting to hear yourself after the fact. All right. Trying to get stuff out of the way. Okay, the dollar store. I want to talk about the dollar store, but we're going to talk about the dollar store in a group setting. The dollar store just at a very high level. Does well overall. Its target audience is very unique though. A lot of folks believe when they go to the dollar store, they're saving money. The actuality of a case study is you do not save money at the dollar store. Dollar for dollar, ounce to ounce, you pay more. Tide at the dollar store, it's about double the price of buying Tide in the store. Because at $1.25, you're paying that for 1 ounce. A 28-ounce bottle will cost you over $30 at the dollar store, so it's very high. So they are targeting a very different audience. The dollar store also has gone through a lot of different economical times. Right, they went from $1 to now $1.25. I'm hearing, I don't know how true it is, they might increase to $1.50 now, so the dollar store is $1.50, who knows? I think there's a big thing of tariffs on that. So the dollar store we're going to talk about up here is the convenience of shopping within 15 minutes to attract customers. And when you're looking at the dollar stores where are they located? Generally, in underserved areas that have lower income thresholds and a big population that can walk to them. That's their audience, right? If I'm looking at higher scale areas, Clifton Park, Niskayuna, they exist, but not as frequent, not as affluent as well. The dollar store has grown strongly for 2 decades, right? It's going for about 20 years. The stock price has fallen. And development agents have made decisions regarding the location of new stores and negotiation of leases. Now, I am going to pull up in a second this whole case study. We'll read it out, we'll talk about it, and I'm gonna talk about this as a group. Because this is a real problem that's currently impacting the Dollar Tree stores right now. Now, prior to tonight, the teacher of financial management at the undergrad level, and talking about the dollar stores and the tariffs that may go into position. Again, tax and imports. Where do most of the products for the dollar stores come from? Domestically or internationally? Internationally. Most of them do. So when there's a tariff, it will impact the pricing overall, hence the rumor of $1.50 or more. Okay, so I do forecast that. So let me pull this up. I want to talk about this first before we kind of jump into PowerPoints and everything, because I want to see how each and every one of you would break this down a little bit differently. Now, this was in your book, and if you did do the reading, it's kind of repetitious, but was not. It's the fact that we can talk about it as a group. Well, I am pulling off my screen so you don't see my email popping up. And I will share it again in one moment. I have to admit, this is actually really cool for me to experience all this, by the way. As an instructor, if you've never done this before, this is cool.
You can also just choose to share a specific like tab.
Tab. I always get lost when I do that.
Yeah.
I do, because I'll skip off and I'm always like, where to go?
Yeah.
And I'm so used to having, to your point, the multi-monitors. So I always do that. It's multiple ones. Yeah, I gotta wait.
Professor, you muted yourself.
This is why I love having Julia here. She keeps me on my toes. Thank you. I would have had a whole lecture, an hour and a half. Nobody heard anything. All right, thank you. A large retail chain of what are called dollar stores has grown rapidly by locating in smaller cities, often on the driveways to local Walmart. The typical consumer visits Walmart for big shopping trips and visits our dollar store for fill-in items like milk or cleaning supplies. Despite a much smaller selection, the dollar store attracts consumers due to its convenience, shopping, and the trips generally take about 15 minutes. After 2 decades of strong growth, dollar store revenues have fallen, and analysts who follow the company have expressed doubts about whether it can maintain its fast growth. Its stock price has fallen, and the CEO is worried about keeping her job. She has asked you to figure out what is wrong and how to fix it. During your investigation, you learned that the company uses development agents to decide where to locate new stores and negotiate leases. New stores are supposed to sell $1 million annually, but recently opened stores have only sold half of that, so 500,000. You might guess that most of the good locations have already been taken, or that increased competition from Amazon or rival dollar stores is limiting sales. Although these are good guesses, they are not the cause of the problem. Your job is to figure out what is the problem here. Now, I did give you a key about development agents. And a development agent is someone that's hired by the company, and they are not employees. So basically like a consultant. I did minimize this to fit it to one screen, so I know, and in person it's a little small. Online, you can still see it, but you can zoom in on it. So what I like to do is kind of figure out what the problem is. Right? So give us some thought for a minute or two to yourselves. And then I would like to do is kind of talk about this as a group and come up with a solution and how we can fix this. Alright, so let's jump in a little bit. Who is making a bad decision here? So who do you think is making a bad decision? And it's really interesting when you look at this, because hopefully it alarms you. New stores are supposed to sell $1 million, but the new stores are only at half of that. So who's selecting the store locations? Who's the one responsible for that? Development agents. Now, why are they selecting stores that you think, in your opinion, will sell less than $1 million? You pay per store open. Would everyone agree that maybe they're getting paid by, per store location? So they're incentivized to open up as many stores as possible. That is actually true. So this is a real case study. Dollar Store has gone out and they did in the past hire development agents. These development agents did find store locations at $1 million in sales or better. But they are incentivized to open up so many stores. They're also incentivized at a certain dollar amount as well. So it doesn't matter to them how well the sales do. Why would the dollar store do that? What's the reason for hiring a development agent instead of doing it internal? And this is not like a question to like get you like an aha moment. Why do you think that is? Like literally, like why?
Cheaper than paying for your own department.
Cheaper, could be, yeah. What about you?
Less work for your company.
Less work, Julia? What are your thoughts?
Maybe because your people aren't trained for it, so you don't have to go out and hire a bunch of new people who know how to do it or train your people.
Yeah, so all three of you, I think, have right answers. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. But as you can see, you just quickly, in 5 seconds each, identified 3 real problems that are actually a real problem. This is real. Training is a real thing. Hiring people internally or hiring external because it costs might be cheaper. Yeah, but I always, all day long, me personally, if I'm out buying a house, I'm not having my real estate agent buy a house without me looking at it. I'm going out to look at it myself. So companies, a lot of companies will do this. They will outsource work to find these locations because these consultants have been good. But it doesn't mean it'll work for every location. This is a big problem. This can be the downfall of the dollar stores. Now, we've all heard McDonald's, their food is not that great, right? It's not a 5-star restaurant. They are in business for real estate. They have amazing real estate locations. If I was a dollar store, I would want to know how McDonald's finds their locations. So why are they so successful at finding that? That to me is really important. That's something I would want to know. The other, does the development agent have enough information to make a good decision? So we talk about training. Julia, you hit that nail on the head. Do they? And if not, why not? The CEO of dollar stores, have we actually asked this question? Like seriously, have they? Now I want to back up here to Spirit Airlines. They're trying to reform and reconstruct and get out of bankruptcy. Do they have enough information to do this? Good information. The other one, does the development agent have the incentive to make a good decision? I think it was you. You said right off bat, $1 million, whatever. Just go open up a store, move on to the next one, right? And incentivize on locations. So are they incentivized to make a good decision? My answer is no. I would like to tie it back to one, if the store does very well, they get an incentive over a year. So not only do they sell a good location, they can help open a new location. If it does well, they get incentivized continuously. I think that's pretty good. I also like to see negotiations. I personally think this is a bad decision to hire a development agent. The question is, how would you do it? What would you do different to find the real estate? How would you do it? Right? Would you do it yourself? Would you hire a different company? Me, I want to understand McDonald's, how they fund it. That to me is really important. So open for discussion. How would you do this?
An issue using development agents, I would just have certain criteria. They have to use like, I don't know where McDonald's, but along similar line Wendy's, I know before they open a location, they need a report on the amount of traffic through that passes that general area. The they wanna know of that area what the average income is. And then they also need like a minimum square footage, and there are a couple of other things, so. I think implementing a couple of those might be a way to double check the agents of, so they can't just open a store, cause like you said, if the average income of a household in an area is, the average income is like 80,000 or something, those aren't really the people that tend to shop at dollar stores, so.
Yeah, absolutely right. Interviewing these individuals more, right? Identify these locations. We can assume the dollar store went out and did these interviews. We can assume the dollar store had an intelligent conversation with these development agents. But as you learn in chapter 1, incentives drive people to success. Incentives motivate individuals to do better. Now, you might hear it in Leadership 101. How do you incentivize people? You don't need to incentivize monetary. You don't. Third party? Yeah, you kind of do. Right? A real estate agent, a development agent, anybody like that, you kind of have to. So if we're looking at this avenue of this way and we're like, you know what, this is how we're going to grow. We're going to grow by incentivizing these development agents. If they do really well, maybe we'll give them more. And we'll pay them more over time, a larger percent. And this larger percent could lead to a good decision. Right, and truthfully, I have seen some dollar stores that are in awful locations. And I'm like, why are they there? They get robbed almost every day. right? And they're targeting different audience, and I understand that. But employees don't wanna work there. Consumers don't wanna shop there. So if people are not spending money, the company will not be successful in that location. So it's good to ask yourself these questions. Who's making the bad decision, right? Development agent, but why? And always try to get whys out until you expire the why. Any questions about this so far? No. Alright, so this was kind of how I wanted to open the lecture of it for tonight. Kind of just challenge everything. So you are leading in an organization. We're going to assume that tonight. You're all consultants. We're going to fix nothing but problems tonight. Economics 101. Economics 101 is question everything. Always assume the worst. And always think someone else is accountable. There has to be accountability somewhere. Now, this is back a little bit. If you look at management or leadership 101, it doesn't really matter who did it, the problem exists. In economics, it does. We want to know granular details about every piece. Think kind of like accounting minds. Right, so we want to get down a little bit because if a certain team member, certain department's not working, we have to fix that. And then we can't fix it until we know it. Okay? All right. Let's pull this up. I'm going to hide these notes. So it looks a little bit better. I'm not going to do this as a group. Well, I thought this was really cool. Discussion activity 1. A basketball team appears to be losing by 2 points. That's 5 seconds left on the clock. They have the ball. You can only take one more shot. There's a 70% chance of making a 2-pointer. 70%. Which would send the game to overtime, with each team having an equal chance of winning. There's also a 40% chance of making a 3-pointer, which would ensure a win. Should they shoot the 2 or 3-point shot? Does anyone recall the movie 21? About card counting? Alright, in there, the movie's talking about picking the odds and being as successful as you can with probability. So if you have a 70% chance of making 2-pointer, but send it to overtime, what would happen if you go to overtime? What's your chance of winning now? Did you increase or decrease it? Because now you're in overtime. You have more minutes on the clock, or more scoring by you, by them. So you kind of decrease your odds. The 40% chance of making a 3-pointer would ensure a win. I would go with the 3-point win. I would try that. Because there's a 40% chance of it. Versus getting into overtime. And overtime, this just guarantees you gotta do it again. Right? It doesn't guarantee a win. This does. So should they shoot the 2 or 3-point? Sometimes in business, it's doing that right there. What's the best guess? What's the best odds? Best chance of success? And here, I would say 3, and why? Because as short as we can win. It's 50-50 chance we're going to win or lose. If I do this, we still have 50-50 chance. If on our best bet, we make this shot, we get it. We don't win yet. Our team still has 50-50 chance. Versus here, a little bit better, actually. There's 40%. But if we've done really well, we put our best long shot, our best 3-pointer on the here. I bet you our chances go up even more than 40%. And then we don't have to go in overtime and risk that. All right. So it's kind of neat to see business done this way, if you can relate it to business, to sports. The problem-solving algorithm. Why was a bad decision made? So looking at the basketball team. So we decided to pick a 2-point shot. We went into overtime and we lost. Why was a bad decision made? Because we thought that was better odds. We thought as a team, we had a better chance. What did we do? We had to lack the information. We weren't thinking clearly. We didn't break it down mathematically. Right? There's lack of incentives. We could win, maybe not, but we weren't thinking wholly. So we really want to look at the incentive piece here. At the very end of this, is how to prevent bad decisions from being made. All right, dollar store. Bad decision was made. Why? Lack of information. We went with development agents that honestly probably shouldn't have been there because they weren't incentivized correctly. They had lack of information, we had lack of information. Lack of incentives pops up again. They weren't paid fairly. So performance measuring metric are linked from pay. I will share with you in sales, you can link things to performance. And I might get off a little bit here. If you're selling cars and you sell 10 cars a month, and you are incentivized to sell 10 cars a month. And if you sell 11, your incentive goes down a little bit, because you gotta get to 10. So you get to 10, you keep your job, 10, you make $1,000 a car, 10,000 a month. On car 11, drops to a 5% payout. So now you get $500 a car. That's a little weird, right? So your incentive drops for selling more. So how many cars do you sell? You set up to really get to 10. We get to 10. 10, I did my job. Anything over that's gravy, that's great, but as humans, we are incentivized to a certain element. So I will stop basically pushing cars that time. In business, there's two theories. You can have goals, cannot have goals. If you set a goal, people hit goals. What happens after those goals? Hit them, they match them. That's it. If you don't give them a goal, you never know how successful they're going to be. Don't give them a goal, okay, go out and sell cars. Go out and sell me a car. This month, I want you to sell cars. One person might sell one person might sell 50. Now we know how they can do it. Now we can set goals. But if you just set a goal and incentivize them just to that, it gets very awkward to really motivate people down the road. How do you prevent bad decisions from being made? Involve your team, right? This is what this algorithm is saying. How do you prevent this from happening? You must be transparent. As we go on the next slide here, this will break down a little bit more about the dollar store. Who is making the bad decision? Again, previous algorithm, development agents. Is there enough information? We'll say no. And is there incentive? There's no incentive to make good decisions. None. You can take these 3 bullets right here, these 3 sections, and save them for everything you do at work. And start challenging things. Why was that decision made, right? So you're in a meeting for school budgeting, we'll just say it like that. And all of a sudden you find out a program's been cut. Who's making this bad decision? Why did it get cut? Who allowed it to happen? Is the information enough to make that good decision? Is there enough information? Or did we just cut the program because we didn't even know what we were doing? Because it sounded like a bad program. And who was getting incentivized for this? Was anyone getting paid extra? Is there incentive for promotion? Is there incentive to grow a program? If not, it might be tough to make that decision. Right? There's 3 questions about generic solutions. Let someone else make the decision. Okay. Give more information to the current decision maker or change the decision maker sentence. If I'm looking in here to suggest a solution, I'm going with the bottom one all day, every day. I want to change the decision maker's incentives. I want to give them an incentive to do more. I want to fix a problem with the dollar tree. I want to give them more money. Even though we don't have money right now, I want to give them more. Give them ownership of the company, give them more stock, give them something to do here. You can give them more information to the current decision maker, but the dollar tree is already struggling. And we know that because in the example, the CEO said her job's on the line. So how do we give them information if they're not already making a good decision? Yeah, decision maker incentives. You could let someone else make that decision. That would scare me. If it's not working, I'm just going to give it all off to someone else. Sometimes maybe that's appropriate, but that would really alarm me right now. If the dollar tree is struggling and I just walk away from it, how do I know the decision they're going to make is going to be better? Right? We don't know that. So I wouldn't want to walk away from it. Questions so far? No. Life-changing stuff? It's just a different way of breaking down problems at business, and that's all we're doing today. Again, the algorithm here, feasible solution, splitting decisions into development agents would initiate the decision and senior management would ratify it. That's kind of the solution. There's no involvement. We can assume there's no involvement. I also, again, want to tie them into better incentives. If you don't do this, One, they'll be bankrupt, they'll be gone. Unprofitable stores will be opened. And profitable stores will fail to open because no one's going to trust those locations. Stores are in businesses only in business to make money. That's their only thing. Economics 101 in business world, right? Companies exist to make money. So if they cannot open up in a good location, the company's gonna be impacted by one. We wanna open up as many stores as possible in the best locations possible. If I can give you $1 million, I can turn that million into 5 million, I'll open up a business all day. That's a good day. But why would the dollar store give you $1 million if they're going to close up? Well-designed organizations, employee incentives align with organizational goals. Most of you are very familiar with small business at this point. You know what a small business is. You've probably done many business plans and marketing plans at this point. And you probably know a lot of employee incentives do not align with organizational goals. Mission and vision plans do not align correctly. So there's mismanagement, there's misunderstandings, mistransparency here. That incentivize someone. You don't have to incentivize monetarily, you do not. I don't believe in monetary incentives either. I don't believe in that philosophy. I think you can incentivize with ownership in a different way. You can incentivize in stocks or shareholder equity of it. But you don't have to give them cash per se. Let's go through that. I'm skipping through some of this. I just want to go through the PowerPoints first and then we're going to break out. I got it. This one we're going to talk about. That's a good one we're going to talk about a lot. All right, ethics and economics. All of you have taken ethics. I could assume all of you have at some point in your undergrad ethics. How do you control unethical behavior? When we're talking about incentivizing, it gets very complicated. So if I want to incentivize someone to open up more stores, do you think ethically they can behave irrationally? Yes. Do you think there could be a problem with funding it? 100%. So you have to understand the cause of unethical behavior. I always believe this philosophy. Unethical behavior happens for a reason. And you never know why. And I'm going to break this down even a little bit more. You find an employee stealing from you from a cash register from the till. And you go ahead, what do? You fire them. Do you ever ask the question why they stole? How many companies do that? Seriously. Most companies don't. They just fire the employee for stealing. What if you ask the question, why did you steal? I stole because my son or daughter needs this medication. Without this medication, they're going to die. Does it justify their behaviors a little bit? Yes. Does that employee still need to be terminated? Probably, right? Because they still stole. But does that change your culture? Does that give you an opportunity to become a human being and actually understand why your employees are stealing? Does that give you an understanding of why unethical behavior does happen in business? All right, there's also greed. Right, people do steal because of greed. They have $1 million, they want 2 million, they want 3 million. But why? Right, understanding a little bit more. I have a heart for people that feel like they have no opportunity, they have no chance because of medication example, or because they're sick and they really need help for something else. Or maybe there's other reasons out there that we don't even know about. But we as managers must ask those questions. Analyze those problems and apply something rational. So if my employees are stealing from me, they're stealing from a till. Why are they stealing? Is it because of me? Because it's so easy for them to do it? So they don't think they're going to get caught? Do I have enough security measurements? Did I not hire the right people? Are my training programs not right? Do I not have the right trainers in place? Asking these questions, why, how, what did I do wrong? Unfortunately, most companies don't do this. They don't ask. We just terminate, we hire someone else, we replace. What happens? We get the same results, right? And we expect different results, but we keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's a bad day. We have to do better. And if you are going in economics and you're going to lead an organization, you are driven to make these changes. Start asking these questions. Why? Don't just accept because it happened. People stole from you. Did you hear about that? You know, Johnny stole from me today. Why did Johnny steal? Did you ask? Yeah, there's only been one company, one executive that I've ever heard of in my lifetime that's actually asked those questions. And they said the same thing. They still, that employee still had to go. And you know what they did? They created a campaign that funding to help that individual because of a sick child.
What company was it?
It's a local bank. Yeah, so to me, I believe if you do the right thing, you ask those questions. And you become a human, you can fix it. Do you think that executive that created a campaign, raised money for an individual? Built the credibility of those employees there? Yeah, all day. Do you think they'll change behaviors as a result? Probably. Right, because they realize it's okay to make mistakes. But we gotta figure out why those individuals did it. Also, the ease of stealing. Now, I used to work as a branch manager in a bank, and I had one employee specifically steal money out of the till. I didn't know what was going on for a long time. So of course, she was terminated. What we found out was where she would go on her till, she would take her money out and go off camera. There's a problem with the security there. People are people. We don't know what's going on in their life. We assume everything's great and no one's ever gonna do anything wrong. But what happened was there was a security issue. Now, was there a hiring issue? Yeah, come find out, there was a hiring issue there as well. Right, so the person that presented themselves wasn't actually themselves. Right, so how do we get better at that? The hiring practices, look at human resources, look at the behaviors. Very important stuff to understand. Okay? I love the psychology of understanding why people do things wrong. I really do, and I think that's neat. Philosophical theories of value systems. So there's deonatologists and consequentialists. There's two different theories here. The deonatologist judges actions based on a set of principles, right, wrong, whatever. It is what it is. The other side, based upon actions on consequences. If I do this, it could result in this. So therefore, I can justify my behavior for anything. And this brings me to an example. There's a train coming, some of you may have heard this in ethics class. There's a train coming and over on there's a bridge on the top. And the train is getting derailed. And it's going to plow through a group of people. And on top of it, there's this very large individual. And if the large individual gets pushed overboard, over the bridge, it stops the train. And it derails it. One life is taken, the man that got pushed over. The group of people's life is saved. Consequences. Well, we saved a group of people, but we took out one. So you can justify it that way in any manner. I'm going to get a little deep on that. Is that right? Is that wrong? This is how employees think. This is how companies think, the same way. Now, I saved 10 people. I'm a hero. But who am I to make that decision for that one person's life? I said their life's not as important, so I pushed them over. Well, I thought it was a hero. Businesses do this all day, every day, when they make a decision and they maybe win a lawsuit. They make a decision and do a termination of an employee. They think they did the right thing. Again, based on consequences. You can base it on a set of principles, right versus wrong. Right versus wrong is hard as stone, it's written. Right? There's no swaying off from that. These are principles. It is what it is. So you can be a deonatologist as well. It depends where you are in your company's life. All right. Wanna see, I don't wanna go through those yet. Economics job interviews. So I love interviewing. And I always tell students, if you've ever done a SWOT analysis, do a SWOT analysis on yourself. I don't know, I'm assuming all of you are familiar with SWOT at this point. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you have a SWOT analysis and you're analyzing a company, you should be doing the same thing about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are these threats that exist? So learning about economics teaches someone to have self-interested behavior. What I do impacts others. The way I behave, my actions impacts results. I can recognize screening patterns in job interviews. There's good questions, there's bad questions. You're always gonna get those standardized questions. Tell me about yourself. Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Your jobs, as you're getting deeper and deeper in your academic careers, go beyond that. Make wise decisions in tough and competitive times. How do you make wise decisions in tough and competitive times? With economics, you keep doing these why things, because you'll get questioned during interviews. Tell me about a time that you had to make a tough decision and what did you do? I mean, if you've been asked that, 100 times. Like you say, well, I was in class and it was a group project and I spoke up. Okay. Great, lower level. You're now running companies, right? That's what we're going to do. Making wise decisions in tough and competitive times. Well, the company was struggling. Dollar Tree, that I was hired upon, and noticed that it was because of locations. So I made a recommendation, and I teamed up with the development agents, and we provided a solution. Since then, sales have grown, store growth has grown. That's how problems get fixed. And all citizens, that's how problems get fixed. That's a good answer. Make decisions in uncertain situations. Tell me about a time that you were unfamiliar about the outcome. What did you do to assure the outcome? What was the outcome, positive or negative? Again, economics, like the why behind it. Well, I made a tough decision because my department manager wasn't there. I noticed my department manager wasn't focused on the end result here, on the goal. So I stepped in, I offered some solutions. We had some hard conversations. As a result, it became a success. Great, that's a good answer. These are very good job interview skills to have. You can use economics in that. Alright, so don't just focus on economics as money solely. Focus on yourself as well. Again, bringing it to the why. Not doing role plays yet. Not yet. I think that's it for the PowerPoint. I just kind of want to turn it over to all of you. Do you have any questions so far? I'm kind of just dry going through this. I know it's not exciting. No questions? Okay. So it's 6:44. I'm just gonna take a quick 5-minute break. What I'd like to do is have all come back. We're going to jump into 2 activities. We are getting through this material very fast. As you saw, chapter 1 is a very small chapter. So I do want to go through this at a very brief level. When we come back, there's 2 breakouts. There's also some Q&A I want to go over. One specifically is your discussion board that you have for this week. All right, so if you haven't done it yet, I will give you the answer in here tonight. But I do want to go through that with all of you. And then when we wrap it up tonight at the end, kind of looking forward for chapter 2 and chapter 3 that we're going to start working on as well. All right, so I'm gonna stop the recording. And then Julia, remind me to start it so I don't forget. I want to split it up. So we'll come back at 6:50.